We're almost near the unpaid end here. Just 3 more, including this one. Chapters left until you will either have to wait for me to start reading the books on the premium version podcast, or will have to purchase the novel. And no worries, I'll be moving on August 1st, so the book will actually be made available quite soon, and I'll be sure to announce it once I've decided on a published date. I'm thinking the 8th, since that's the podcast's 3-year birthday, but at the same time I already have an episode planned for that day, and yes, I have an episode planned for Tuesday. I'll be sure to share more information on that soon. But enough with the announcements and excitement, let's get into the reading mint. Shrouded Personas, written by Porscha Aubrey, narrated by Porscha Aubrey. Chapter 8. My entire shack is pitch black. The only way for me to see my surroundings is through my training of night vision and relying on other senses. It's boiling hot tonight, impossible for me to even become tired. I wish I could have some sort of air conditioning, but I barely even have enough space for electricity. The only things in my house that requires to be plugged in are the fridge, and my hot plates and scales for potion making. The oven is gas, so it definitely doesn't need electricity. It doesn't even have a little screen with a clock or anything that shows the temperature inside. Plus, I wash my dishes by hand, so unlike other homes, I don't have a dishwasher. Not like it matters anyway. I don't eat enough to make dishes. My stomach rumbles at the thought of food, but I push it back down. The muscles that I've once had have shrunk to mere twigs, my bones peeking out from my thin layer of skin. I used to hate having fat on my body. I'd always squeeze my stomach and feel empty or hideous. Though I did enjoy the sight of my muscles and how powerful I felt with my strength. Now all I want is to have meat on my bones again. I want to be able to eat like I used to. But I shouldn't get given to cravings or greed. Greed will just end up turning me into a wild animal, or arrogant and selfish. Though I did get to eat a little bit last night when I had dinner with Mrs. Runson and her children. It's amazing that I didn't end up throwing up. The ground rumbles below me, the floor of my shack scalding hot. Cheers and shouts of cowboys, as well as the booming of hooves, grow louder and louder the closer they get to my home. I doubt they're bandits. Sure, they're shouting and behaving like bandits, but they sound more like a drunken group of friends than a wild lineup of criminals. The ground slowly becomes still once more, and the rowdiness lowers to complete silence. Taking a deep breath, I make my way outside, partially hoping that the outdoors will somehow be cooler than inside. Considering that I'm leaving in 2 days, it's extremely likely that the World Wanderer guy is up and preparing, especially in this heat. I sincerely doubt he'd be able to sleep either, unless they have air conditioning on the ship, though I'm pretty sure that's impossible. The hot wind blows into my face like a heater set to the maximum. It burns my eyes and dries my skin, smelling like horse shit and dead animals. I'm sure that once I get to running, then it'll be easy to cool down and get that putrid stench away from my nostrils. Stretching from side to side, I take a deep breath and roll my ankles, reaching down and touching my toes with ease. I've been trained to be as flexible as possible without having to sacrifice any of my ribs. Sometimes I'm even still amazed by my flexibility, especially since I haven't been forced to do the daily stretches since I graduated. It's good that my body is still able to maintain this much exercise. Any average human would either be bedridden or dead. Though I should definitely start eating more. It's not going to be long before all those nutrient pills they gave me for years wear off. Whatever, that's future me's problem. Stomping my feet into the ground, I take a few shallow breaths, making sure that none of my muscles are sore. Then, focusing all my strength into my feet, I blast off from the ground, sprinting down the dirt roads, focusing on the mental map I've created from my shack to the docks. My lungs burn and eyes water with my increasing speed. At this rate, I should be at the docks in around 2 hours. Luckily, based on last time I tested myself, I can run up to at least 5 hours straight. It won't be long before I probably won't be able to run at most a minute before crumbling to dust. Hopefully I'll get a good source of food on the ship for my trip. Anything would be better than my current diet. About halfway there, I come across a tiger gnawing on an antelope. It appears young and healthy, definitely in its prime. It's surprising that the tiger was able to catch it. It must be amazing at sneaking, especially since it doesn't appear to be in its prime. The tiger has patches of bald spots written all over its body. It's skinny and definitely malnourished, and one of its front legs appeared to be injured somehow. The tiger and the antelope remind me of some people from my old school. A student that graduated 3 years before was manipulating grooming another student that had just transferred into the upper class division. That's a several-year gap. Sure, there are lots of adults that have a 10-year gap or more, but this is different. This was an adult and a minor. The tiger reminds me of the sick fuck, and the antelope reminds me of the minor. All in all, everything led to the adult being shot, just like this tiger. Though I don't have a gun on me, well, none that I feel is worth using, but I do have knives. Slowly and carefully, I bend down, pulling one of my throwing knives out of one of my boots. My breathing is a little jagged, but it's not too bad. I can still steady it and remain silent. Though I wish my hand wouldn't shake so much. My lifestyle is definitely catching up with me. Just 2 days, that's all I need. Then I'll be able to be as selfish as I want during my trip. The tiger growls at me, the neck of the antelope bleeding out from its mouth. I know for a fact that a pack of wolves live not too far from here, so the loss will not go to waste. The lifeless eyes of the antelope makes my head swirl and my stomach roll, but I can't think about that. With a flick of my wrist, the blade is sent flying through the air. It moves in almost slow motion, speeding straight for the beast that dares hunt the healthy and lively. I understand it's a part of the animal kingdom, but this sight alone brings upon me too many horrific memories. The blade shoots completely through the tiger's skull, directly between both of its dark, ferocious eyes. Blood splatters, leaving a scent trail behind for any animal ballsy enough to go near a tiger and an antelope. There's a loud smack as both the blade sinks into the dry dirt and the tiger falls lifeless onto its dead hunt. Red pours over the limited color available here, soaking into the fur of both the majestic and the wild creatures. After numbly walking over the corpses, I pick up my blade, wiping the blood off on the back of the antelope, and sliding it back into my boot. With another blast off on my heels, I'm back to sprinting through fields and dirt roads. Now more focused on the repeating horrors of my past than the map in my mind. The lights of the docks soon burn my vision. Only about half of the dock has ships of varying sizes tied to it. I can't help but laugh softly at the sight of a small fishing boat docked next to a large pirate-type ship. My lungs don't burn as much as before, but my surroundings are foggy, and the air is too thick to breathe properly. It must be like this every morning. The only way to see your surroundings is to look for the light. I wonder what it's like in the winter. The deep chatter of a crew grunting and laughing arises from a sailing large ship. Using the fog as a cover, I dip down behind a rock and peek around the side. They're all men with huge muscles. Some have dark skin and others are as pale as the snow of our Syrian winters. Though the main commonality between all of them is that their clothes are torn and vary in color. Not even their expressions show mutual understanding or respect. Some appear to love being among the group, and others seem to hate everything around them. I hope that's not the crew for the ship I'm taking, though they do seem to have varying personalities. It'd certainly be interesting. How am I supposed to figure out who Antonio Zuma is? Perhaps I can follow that group of men and see if they mention his name or his nickname. Though I should definitely keep my distance. I don't want Antonio to know that I've been scouting him out to figure out more about him. He'd definitely find it creepy, and I'd rather not ruin my first impression with him. Raising up slowly from the large rock I hide behind, I watch the movement of the crew as they walk into a garage of sorts, where I assume they keep all of their supplies. Their voices are echoed once they enter the large building, none of which seem to be mentioning anything regarding the trip in 2 days. I rush to the outside of the garage and begin climbing up the wall, balancing on the thin, uneven metal and pushing my feet into any crevice I can find. Once I get to a small window, I peek through. They all have set down their supplies and now sit on sacks of grain whilst cracking open a few beers. The more pessimistic looking men keep their distance, perched next to shelves and sipping their beers as they listen to everyone talk about the work and their at-home lives. "What's your next venture?" a short, dark man asks, nodding to a tall, large man with dark tan skin and a skull mask covering most of his face. The design of the skull is similar to my bandana. He's one of the men that stand at a distance, maintaining a sour expression. "I'm headed to Vakmite," he responds. His voice is deep and intimidating, leaving an sour echo behind. Does he always talk like that? What the fuck happened in his life to make him like this? Everyone is silent as they wait for him to continue. Once he doesn't, another person prompts. "That's all you're gonna tell us?" He shrugs, downing the rest of his beer. "What do you want to know?" Something is odd about his movements. "I don't know." They glance at each other, watching as he grabs another beer. "Why are you going there?" Then I see it. Just as he rises back up from the large cooler, we lock eyes. He knows I'm here. But how could he have seen me? Whatever. That doesn't matter now. I need to get out of here, and he clearly is the world wanderer. Though there's a chance that he might just be a highly attentive adventurer that just so happens to be going to Vakmite. But that doesn't matter. I need to get out of here. Hopping down from the window I was perched on, I cradle my head as I land on the ground, rolling forward a few feet, then hopping up. I don't even wait a moment to catch my balance before sprinting back home. The fog blurs my vision of my surroundings, but the rocks knocking against each other below my feet, I'm able to tell where any potholes may be present. "Hey, who's out there?" one of the men shouts, but it's already too late. I'm far enough away for them to not even be able to see my outline. Good thing I was wearing my mask, or else I definitely would have ruined my cover in first impression. My lungs burn and joints are sore with a sudden, unprepared movement, but I push forward. How could that man possibly have seen me? The window was so small and I blended in perfectly with the colors around me. When did he first notice me? Before or after they all went inside? Whatever, it doesn't matter. I got a good view into his identity and the first impression is still untarnished. 2 more days and then I'll have to talk to that pessimistic asshole every day. And that is all for Chapter 8 of Shrouded Personas, and I believe the chapter I did just read was an unedited version. I can see it in my notes for the document, but no worries, the published novel will have much more editing done to it. So be sure to listen regularly to stay updated on the state of novels, since I'll likely make next week's episode full of updates and information. But hey, there's just a sneak peek. Check out my novels Death Trail, Flame Rip, and Arctic Blaze on Amazon and Kobo, link in description. Check out the CWC Premium on Patreon and Spotify, link in description. Check out Creative Writing Discord server in the description. Check out my personal Instagram at dark_night_wolves. And let's bring this meeting shrouded in entertainment to an end.